got all the messages, got everything here. I can see TikTok, I can see YouTube, I can see Circle, I can see Twitter. Fantastic. Just adjust that a bit. Move that to there. Okay, enough faffing. Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, the 11th of December, and this is AI with Kyle. I'm going to be running through the latest AI news and updates, as well as taking live audience questions from people on TikTok and YouTube, Twitter, and the community. Me says, nice that the live is now in the community. Yes, and good to see you here, Me. Fantastic. Right, so there isn't much news today because we are waiting for ChatGPT 5.2, which should be coming out later today. That will be later this afternoon, so I'll cover it tomorrow on Friday's live. In the meantime, basically everyone is holding back. Nothing new is coming out. Very little is happening in the world of AI because I think everyone's waiting to see what ChatGPT come back with in response to Gemini 3, which released a few weeks ago, which led to OpenAI announcing a code red. So we're going to wait and see what they have in terms of 5.2. So in the meantime, I wanted to cover something I've been noticing more and more, which is not AI negativity or anti-AI arguments, which obviously are very much around, but more of a creeping fear and dread that it is definitely coming for people's jobs. And it's, I'm going to talk about an example in a moment from scientists in particular, where a lot of advances are being made, a lot of new AI tools being deployed in artificial intelligence, things like AlphaFold. And this is coming for the jobs of researchers and the jobs of scientists. And there have been a few posts over the last week about how AI can never actually create something novel. It can never create new knowledge. It cannot actually assist in science, etc., etc. Coming from the scientific community, people who seem to be ignoring what is actually happening. They're ignoring the empirical evidence, which is against their training. And I wanted to have a look at that and the debate that is going on about it and the place of artificial intelligence in science, in knowledge, in creation, and how that aligns with jobs as well. So I'm going to get to that as the main theme of the day. Jed says, I'm sorry I'm late. When is GPT 5.2 coming out? Is it today? Yes, it should be today. So OpenAI always release things on Thursday. That's just their schedule. They always have press conferences on Thursday. Don't know why, but they're sticking to that. And we had a tweet from Sam Altman yesterday, which was hinting at garlic. It was him making some pasta sauce and ChatGPT telling him to add some garlic. Garlic is the code name of whatever's releasing today. We think it is GPT 5.2, but we'll find out later today. It should be, I imagine, it will be about 4 or 5 p.m. UK time, so early in the day in California. Is it going to be better than Gemini 3? I think it has to be, and I think they wouldn't release it if it wasn't better than Gemini 3. So ChatGPT 5.2, GPT 5.2 is their response to Gemini 3. They need it to be better than Gemini 3. If it did not beat Gemini 3, at least in the benchmarks, I think, well, it's going to put egg on their face and they're going to look very silly. So there'd be no reason for them to rush this launch unless it beats Gemini 3. So we don't know. This is speculative. It's not out yet, but I think highly likely that it will beat Gemini 3, at least in the benchmarks. Of course, they can fine tune for the benchmarks. They can benchmax, as it's called, and they can focus on beating Gemini 3 very, very, very specifically. And I think that's probably what they've done, because it's only been a week or two since Gemini 3 came out, and for them to push up their schedule and the release of a model to respond quickly, we had some internal memos. The Wall Street Journal had talked to some people inside who said that they think the model release should be delayed, and they were overruled by executives. So this is OpenAI just trying to get something out the door in response to Gemini 3. Cool. So let's hop into a couple of pieces of news. One, this is, I think, indicative of the fact that people are starting to take AI very seriously. So the NDAA or the NDAA is mandating a new Department of Defense steering committee on artificial general intelligence. So inside of US government, there is a committee being put together to talk specifically about AGI, artificial general intelligence, and what happens when it arrives. It's increasingly becoming a question of not if, but when, and working out what the world post AGI looks like. And the fact that at the top of the, I think this is Pentagon, tell me if I'm wrong, the Department of Defense, they are now having these discussions and they're sitting down to work out what this looks like, suggests that this is now being taken as a credible threat to national security, world security, to defense in general. So this is only a committee. This doesn't necessarily mean anything, but a version of the annual defense policy bill unveiled by lawmakers Sunday would require Pentagon leadership to form a new panel to look at the military implications of artificial general intelligence and other advanced AI capabilities. So a lot of people are seeing this and raising the alarm bells and being like, oh my God, what do they know? AGI is around the corner. What do the Pentagon know? No, I think this is just civil servants. This is just government trying to get a handle on what the hell is coming. The fact that they're only just discussing this is more worrying to me. I would have hoped that they'd been thinking about this a little bit before, because we probably will have something, and we're going to debate this and argue it for years, but we'll probably have something approximating AGI in the next couple of years. So not necessarily decades, but potentially in the next few years. So for government to only now start to think about, what does this mean, is a little bit worrying. So it's going to be co-chaired by the Deputy Secretary of Defense and the Vice Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staffs. Other members would include Service Vice Chiefs, Vice Chief of the National Guard Bureau, and Undersecretaries of Defense and Acquisition and Sustainment, Research and Engineering, Intelligence Security, and Comptroller, Chief Financial Officer. So I guess the big question here is, how much do these guys know about the technology? Hopefully they are getting up to scratch on it. And also the Pentagon's Chief Digital and AI Officer. Let's see who that is and what their background is. I'm interested. A guy called Dr. Doug Matty. Where is he? Dr. Doug Matty. He's the Chief Digital and Artificial Intelligence Officer. Let's have a look. He served as the Director of Research for AI and Autonomy at the University of Alabama. He worked at the Rand Corporation. Okay, awesome. So he's definitely a military man, but he has worked in operations systems AI. Okay. BS in computer engineering, MS in applied mathematics, minor in cryptography, and master's in national security studies from the US Army War College, great name, and a doctorate degree in engineering systems from MIT. Okay. So at least he comes from a technical background and is not just a politician. This is what we tend to do in the UK in particular. We give roles in fields that our politicians don't necessarily have any background in, and they get shuffled around. So you might be, the head of education one year, and then suddenly you're head of agriculture, and then you're leading artificial intelligence. Best of luck. But it looks like at least this guy has some kind of technical background, so that is reassuring. So you will see people talking about this new Pentagon group, and you will see people ringing the alarm bells of, oh my God, what do they know? I think the reality is less fantastical, and the reality is that this is literally a committee getting together to talk about AGI and to work out what they're going to do about it. It's a big question because we don't really know what it is or what its capabilities will be. So best of luck to them. Let me hop over to some questions. If I'm discussing something in ChatGPT and start a new chat, will that know what was previously discussed in the new chat I just opened, so it can continue the discussion, but talking about different points about the same thing? Yes, if you have the persistent memory turned on. So inside ChatGPT, if you go into the settings and then go into, I think it's in personalization. Yep. If you go settings and personalization, then they have a section which is manage, so memory, and you can click on manage there, and you can allow it to reference saved memories. So it will let ChatGPT save and use memories when responding. It will reference browser memories, so things that it has looked up for you on the Atlas. That's cool. I did not know that. That's really cool. And it can reference your chat history, so you can go back and look at your other chats. This is what I find is really useful about ChatGPT, is that it knows all this additional context about you. This is why I use ChatGPT as my my personal artificial intelligence. I use Claude for work, but I use ChatGPT for more personal stuff. So it knows a lot about me. It knows about my business, it knows my personal life, it knows my travel plans, it knows what video games I'm playing, etc. Because these are the kind of things I reference and talk to ChatGPT about, which means when I start a new search, it has all of that context already. Whereas with Claude, it tends to be a bit more compartmentalized, which is good if you're working on projects and you don't necessarily want stuff to filter in from your personal life. That said, Claude does now have a memory feature. It's just not as fully fleshed out as ChatGPT. So yeah, you can make sure it's turned on if you want to use context from past conversations in new conversations, and that's going to be in settings, sorry, personalization, and then down to memory, and you'll be able to toggle them all on. Or if you don't want it to remember all that stuff about you, you can say don't do that and turn it off. Up to you. Also, once you have that memory turned on, and if you want a conversation with it that you don't want it to remember and you don't want it to reference in other chats, then you can use temporary chats. So you click on the top right up here, puts into temporary chat. This chat will not appear in history, use or update ChatGPT's memory, or be used to train our models. Not really meant to be using most of it to train our models because I've got that turned off, but okay. That's a different question. But yes, hopefully that's useful. Okay, this is cool. So a rocket was sent up into space yesterday on StarCloud 1, which comes from this company, StarCloud. Good name. They loaded a NVIDIA H100, which is a GPU, on board, and they trained their first large language model in space. So they actually used Andrej Karpathy's model. So he has built a new model recently, a new LLM called NanoGPT, which you can download. Let's have a look at it. So there we go. The simplest, fastest repository for fine-tuning medium-sized GPTs. So yeah, you can download it yourself. You can run it yourself on a local computer because it's very lightweight. But they have just sent it up into space and trained humanity's first AI model in space. Very, very cool. And congrats to Andrej for it being his model. That's really cool. So we trained the NanoGPT model for Andrej Karpathy on the complete works of Shakespeare and then successfully ran inference on it. So they trained it and then they ran it as a model up there as well. We have also run inference on a preloaded Gemma model. So this is Google Gemma. So this means they trained it on Earth and then sent it up into space and ran inference on the model up there. And we plan to try more exciting models in the future. Getting the first H100 to work in space required a lot of innovation and hard work from an incredible StarCloud team to make this breakthrough, because it needs power. You need to give it power so it can train. This is a significant first step towards moving almost all computing off Earth to reduce the burden on our energy supplies and take advantage of abundant solar energy in space. This is something you've probably seen a lot of chatter about. Google want to put oh god, what's it called? Not Sun Snatcher. It's got a really cool name. Let me find the name of it. A lot of people are talking about this right now, about sending data centers up into space. StarCloud? Suncatcher. Great name. Let me pull it up. And the reason they're giving is limitless energy. So by putting training a data center up in space and covering it in solar panels, you have 24 hours a day solar power, because you make sure that it's always facing the sun. You also get more solar panel power because it's not filtered by the atmosphere, and so you can basically have limitless energy up in space. Some critics have said, well, we have a lot of sustainable energy we can still capture and use on Earth. Like, we have a lot of capacity to build solar panels, wind farms, etc. We just haven't done so yet. So why are you sending stuff up into space, which is going to cost a lot more to do? Which is a very good counter argument. There's also the problem of cooling. So lots of people think, well, space is cold, right? So it's going to be a lot easier to cool these GPUs and these data centers up in space. That is not the case. There are three basic ways in which energy gets, I'm going to use the word dissipate, that's probably wrong, but energy gets taken away from the GPUs. So it can do it through conduction, it can do it through convection, and it can do it through radiation. These are the three ways heat can leave. I'm being very careful of my language here because I'm going to use the wrong term and somebody's going to call me out on it. But these are the three basic ways. So conduction, convection, and radiation. Conduction and convection basically do not work in vacuum. There is nothing to conduct into. Ditto with convection, it's not being taken away. So your only heat dissipation mechanic is going to be radiation. So you have only one of the three mechanisms for getting rid of that heat. So dealing with your heat in space is not as easy as it seems. It's not just space cold, no problem. It is, oh no, we need to radiate this, which means we need a large mass and surface area to radiate out this excess heat. So there are engineering problems here. It's also expensive to send stuff into space. So the critics of these projects are saying, well, why are you not just building solar farms on Earth? Why are we not focusing on sustainables on Earth? I think the best argument for this is basically sovereignty. If you launch a satellite, if you get approval to launch a satellite and you're up in space, nobody can mess with your satellite at that point. We aren't blowing each other's satellites out of the sky yet. Whereas if you want to build a huge solar farm, let's say in the UK or the US or France, Germany, the number of years you have to go through planning, getting permission, doing impact studies, environmental studies, etc. By the time you've got this built 10 years from now, everything's moved on. So China does not have that problem, and China are currently just coating any available space, especially in the desert, with solar panels and just ramping up their sustainable energy, whereas the rest of the West struggles to do so because there's a lot of red tape behind it. If you instead stick your data center into a satellite and blast it into space, you kind of cut through the red tape. Once you've got the permission to launch, once you've got the permission to have a satellite in space, you don't need to deal with anything else, because you don't need to deal with the fact that you are building on land in a particular nation state. So I think this is what the tech companies are going for. They want more sovereignty, they want more control, and they don't want to have to bow down to governmental regulations about where they can build their energy infrastructure. They also don't want to have to wait for a nation like the US to build more infrastructure because it's too slow. Again, let's look at that China electricity generation graph, because this is what people are looking at right now and thinking, ooh, this is going to be an issue. Here we go. This is from Visual Capitalist. This is almost worth printing out because it is this is the top power producing countries from 1985 through to now, and you can see all of the European nations. We've got Japan, Russia as well, India, the EU kind of here, just kind of going along. The US has gone from, what's this, 3 terawatt hours to 4.4. That's fine. And then this one is China. So China went from middle of the pack, lower of the pack down here in 1985, and then just ramped it up since the 2000s, and is now at, this is actually a bit old, I think they're at 15 now, or no, sorry, 12 terawatt hours. So China generates more electricity last year than the US, EU, and India combined. So China has the electricity to power their data centers. They don't need to worry in the same way that our older infrastructure in the West does. And this is in part why the AI companies and the tech companies like, we need to take control of the energy infrastructure ourselves. So far, the energy industry and the governments in these countries have not done a very good job. And you can see that here. So that's why companies like Google and Microsoft are looking into building little nuclear power stations next to their data center. They're looking at reinvigorating or bringing back online previous nuclear power stations. They're looking at sustainables, and they're looking at blasting data centers into space, so they basically don't need to rely on a nation state and the infrastructure of that nation state providing the power they need. Yeah, we're moving more and more towards our cyberpunk dystopian future where it's the corporations, not necessarily the nation states, who are making these kind of decisions, for better or worse. Okay, so it is exciting though that we have just trained a large language model in space, the first of many, I imagine, because a lot of these companies are talking about blasting data centers into space. This is great news for Elon Musk, of course, because he owns one of the largest, if not the largest, commercial space flight company, and they have been for years working out how to take off and land safely and use reusable rockets. So suddenly, all of that research, all of that spend, oh dear, and camera problems, excuse me. This camera is no good. Wind farms produce excess electricity, can be used to pump water under higher dams and release air. Yeah, the problem with wind farms and solar is the variation. So this is why something like nuclear is great, because nuclear can provide a steady source of energy. Wind farms, it's not always windy, and solar panels, it's going to only be sunny on, well, sunny days and when it is daytime. So it means already you lose half of your capacity because it's nighttime. So this is one of the big issues with sustainable powers, is that they are not necessarily very consistent. And when we are powering things, we need consistent energy. So we need capacitors and storage, and we need a grid that can help to balance that load. So they are very useful, but it needs to be part of a larger energy infrastructure. And again, it's just very hard getting anything done in a lot of Western nations, unfortunately. Okay, I'm having camera problems, which is very annoying. It's a very expensive camera from Sony that overheats. So if anyone wants to buy a Sony EV7 Mark II or whatever it's called, I might be selling one soon because it's very annoying, extremely annoying. Okay, I want to talk about this tweet. I don't want to single out this guy because I'm sure he's already getting enough flack for this. A guy called Julian Tegelius. He's on Twitter. I'm going to read the beginning of this and let you guys make your own judgment on it. There's been a lot of controversy, and I think for good reason, but let me read this. So I was at an event on AI for Science yesterday, a panel discussion here at NeuroIPS. I've never actually said it out loud. It's a conference. The panelists discussed how they plan to replace humans at all levels in the scientific process. So I stood up and protested that what they're doing is evil. Look around you, I said. The room is filled with researchers of various kinds, most of them young. They are here because they love research and want to contribute to advancing human knowledge. If you take the human out of the loop, meaning that humans no longer have any role in scientific research, you're depriving them of the activity they love and a key source of meaning in their lives. And we all want to do something meaningful. Why, I asked, do you want to take the opportunity to contribute to science away from us? So it goes on here, and there's a little bit later. It says, one of the panelists asked whether I would really prefer the joy of doing science to finding a cure for cancer and enabling immortality. I answered that we will eventually cure cancer and at some point probably be able to choose immortality. Science is already making great progress with humans at the helm. We'll get fusion power and space travel someday as well. Maybe cutting humans out of the loop could speed up the process, but I don't think it would be worth it. I think it is of crucial importance that we humans are in charge of our own progress. Expanding humanity's collective knowledge is, I think, the most meaningful thing we can do. If humans could not usefully contribute to science anymore, this would be a disaster. So no, I do not think it worth it to find a cure for cancer faster if that means we can never do science again. Woo-wee! So this guy is basically saying, I don't want AI taking jobs from scientists because the process of doing science is super important and we don't want to make all these young people, all these researchers out of their job. Even if it means we cure cancer later, even if it means we get fusion power and we solve climate change and we potentially have the ability to be immortal, even if these ends take longer, I think that we should maintain the process of allowing humans to do the work. So, and he goes on, it's a very long post. I didn't know you could go this long on Twitter. So it goes on and on and on and on and on. And as you can imagine, a lot of people are like, well, this is evil. You are saying you want people to die of preventable diseases, of avoidable death, by removing AI and allowing us as humans to kind of piecemeal work these things out ourselves. Instead, when we could use AI to speed up this process, to cure diseases much faster, to deal with environmental problems, to deal with a lot of the issues that we have as a species. But you'd rather not do that because you don't want to deprive these people of the jobs or the joy of discovering themselves. So some people have come back in and said, this is horrendous. This is, what you're saying is evil here. And countless people will die because of this, if this were to be true. I just wanted to flag it up because it's it's a discussion that's going on in every single industry. It just hits really hard in science. So funnily enough, this guy, Julian, he actually posted a year ago. He said, extremely unpopular opinion, earning a living through artistry in any domain, paintings, movie, dance, novels, etc., has always been very hard. This is a supply and demand issue. Lots of people want to be artists, few want to pay for their art. AI is not changing that much. So he was basically saying AI is going to come along and you guys in the art field are kind of in trouble because AI is going to take your already very, very few jobs. So it's kind of a bit of a just desserts that this is happening in science. Like AI is being deployed in research, which potentially allows research to be done faster and potentially means we do not need as many researchers. Maybe. These are the dynamics we're seeing across all different industries. However, in something like art, it's less cut and dry. It's less, oh, we could cure cancer using this technology, so maybe we should be using it. And I see a lot of people talk about the good uses of AI and the bad uses of AI. And this is, in fact, something I talked about yesterday with that McDonald's commercial. I don't think it's a particularly good use of AI, but that's for me personal. Whereas a lot of people will say, well, curing cancer or protein folding, for example, which AI has solved, is a good use of AI. And this is a discussion we all need to have and a line that we all need to draw. But for somebody to come out and so publicly say, no, we need to, for humans to cure cancer and push science forward ourselves, even if it takes a lot longer, even if it takes decades, I think is the height of selfishness. And sometimes us humans need to get out of our own damn way. We tend to overinflate our importance and how important I think we are. And I think AI is the first technology that's really threatening that. It's threatening what it is to be human, what it is to think, what it is to create. Suddenly these things which were very much a human activity is suddenly not so much. We are seeing another entity, an alien intelligence that can perform at our level or above our level in certain activities, and that is scary for a lot of people for good reason. But we do need to remember things like AlphaFold. So go and watch The Thinking Game, which is a free documentary from Google DeepMind, and it focuses, the second half is all about AlphaFold. AlphaFold is an AI that can work out the folding of proteins. So there's a competition called Casper, Oh, sorry, CASP. CASP is something else. CASP has been going on for over a decade, and every single year, scientific teams from around the world basically get together and they have a competition to fold proteins and see who can fold the most proteins and with the most accuracy. And they're given proteins that have been solved, but nobody actually knows the solution apart from the CASP people. And then the teams have to go off quickly, fold these proteins. I think they have a week or so, and then provide their answers, and they are scored. So you can see on the left-hand side, this is from 2006 to 2016, so about 10 years. The accuracy was around 30 to 40%. AlphaFold from Google DeepMind decided, oh, this is a problem we want to tackle. This is something we want to have a go at. Let's see if we can solve protein folding. Their first attempt in 2018 blew all of the human teams out of the water. So they got to about 60% accuracy. It was still quite slow, but they got to about 60% accuracy. And in the film, The Thinking Game, you can see how disappointed they are with that. They're disappointed with the fact that their accuracy is still too low and it cannot be used practically. You need a score of about 90 before it's actually useful for scientific work. So despite blowing every single human team for the past few decades out of the water, the AI team are like, we need to do better. So 2 years later, they come back with AlphaFold 2, which it works incredibly fast. If I remember, it's like it can fold a couple of 100,000 proteins a day. It might even be more than that, whereas previously they were doing a handful, like 5 a day. So it's faster and it's more accurate. And it meant by the end of this process, there's a scene in the film The Thinking Game where they've basically solved protein folding, which allows for the synthesis of new drugs. It allows us to work out things like creating something that will break down plastics, for example, so we can get rid of our plastic pollution problem. Huge numbers of scientific applications. They've solved that problem, and they're sitting in a meeting room and kind of talking to each other like, well, what do we do now? And they're having a discussion. It's like, oh, well, we could release the data set to, pre-approved people who come to us and maybe they pay us, blah, 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 blah. And Demis Hassabis says, no. How long would it take us to fold and process every single protein? And they sit there like, well, there's about 2 billion proteins, we think. So it would take about a month for AlphaFold 2 running on full power to just blast through every single protein in the known universe. It would take about a month. So Demis Hassabis is like, okay, do that. And then release the data. And they did. So you can download the AlphaFold 2 data. All of the proteins, all 2 billion proteins are available to scientific teams around the world as of about 2020. So they can go ahead and do that research. Now, this is a task that would have been cracked by humans eventually. You can see, well, there isn't really progress. I was about to say you can see the progress. But over the last the previous 10 years, the human teams were not really making much progress. They were stuck at 30 to 40% accuracy. And then the AI team came along, trained the AI to work it out and to work out how to fold protein. And then within 4 years, basically took the whole competition. They removed the need for the competition because they solved the problem. And then they released all of their data. So this is, when I see someone like Julian Tegelius arguing against the use of AI in science, we have to remember how much harm that can cause. If we have the ability to solve big problems like this, and we choose not to, so that we can make sure researchers have jobs, that to me seems like the ultimate in selfishness. Yeah, it sucks if you're a researcher. Yeah, it sucks if you're going to lose that job. And that's going to be the case for a lot of people in a lot of industries. But we have to not just think about ourselves. We have to think about everyone else out there, not just the people who are alive right now, but everyone in the future. So this strikes me as incredibly selfish. And a lot of people have been saying that as well. And he's been defending himself. But I think this sentence here, I do not think it is worth it to find a cure to cancer faster if that means we can never do science again. I think that is any counter argument he makes after that. You try telling that to somebody who's had a family member pass from cancer, and I think they'll tell Julian where he can stick his counter argument. Thinking about his own job, yeah, adapt or be left behind in it. Yes, we as humans, this is what we do. We are very much in our own world. We think about ourselves all the time. So a lot of people who are scared of AI are in industries where AI is going to have an impact on their job, it's going to have an impact on their company, it's going to have an impact on their industry. And they have every single right to be afraid of it for that reason, because it will take away their job. However, you need to think on the larger scale. You need to think about 100 years from now. That job just won't be around. So what are you going to do? You can, yeah, sure, you can fight it. You can throw spanners in the works. You can be a Luddite. But 100 years from now, 50 years from now, that is not going to exist. So all you're doing is holding back against that tide, which is fundamentally for yourself. It's not necessarily a selfish action, but it is for you. It is for your own well-being, and it's for your own job. And if your job and your role being removed can make everyone else's lives better, for example, curing cancer, that's a big extreme example, but as an example, then you kind of have to get out of the way. Sorry. Obviously, there are shades of grey here. Not everything is as important as curing cancer. But I think resistance just for your own job and for your own sense of self and sense of worth is basically a selfish act. Interestingly, this connects to this is a guy from, I think he's from Pause AI. I assume he's from Pause AI. So Pause AI are a group who want development of artificial intelligence to be paused. They are AI skeptical, they are AI anti-AI. They're not Stop AI, they are Pause AI, slightly different. They're different organizations. But there's a really interesting post from him here. So this is a guy called Aaron. He says, why is it that the American left is so insistent on making up fake reasons to dislike AI when there are a deluxe buffet of at least plausibly true ones for the taking? And he's referencing this image here, which is saying, are you using generative AI? Then you're prompting with Hitler. Gen AI is a fascist project. Try using your brain instead. Don't surrender your creativity to detect billionaires' control. So bringing up the ghost of fascism and saying that every time you use AI, you are promoting fascism. So he's saying we have enough real reasons to worry about AI and to ask for AI to be paused or even stopped. We don't need to come up with fake ones. And the fake ones he gives are AI is fascist, water usage. This is a huge one. People find the idea that, you know, pouring away a glass of water like this is the same as using ChatGPT. It is not. The water usage argument is a red herring, but it has become almost mimetic. It's become the thing that people share around, because there was a bunch of videos a couple of years ago of people pouring away a bottle of water and being like, haha, that's you when you use ChatGPT. Nonsense. It's not real. But it's a nice easy hook that people have connected onto. The real problem is electricity. The other fake problems, he says, energy usage at the current margin. Yeah, the energy usage and electricity usage right now is very small. Data centers use about 2 or 3% of global electricity. Very small compared to everything else we're doing. Social media, Netflix, etc. uses more energy because we are using them hugely. Heating our house, air conditioning, good God, AC is massively electricity burning. But we don't look at those things because those are not the things we're uncomfortable about. So we don't look at the context of the electricity usage of AI because it's too uncomfortable. It's the same with water usage. When people complain about the usage of water, they need to also look at things like meat consumption. I'm not saying this because I'm a vegan, but we need to look at how much water is used to produce meat, because it is immense, absolutely immense. So you have to put any data that you have in the context of everything else. Otherwise, it's an argument in bad faith. So water and energy costs. Currently, AI isn't helpful, actually, which this is a big one for me. When people say that they're not using AI because it's not good, I think that suggests to me that they used AI a couple of years ago. Maybe it hallucinated, maybe it made some stuff up, and they haven't really engaged with it since then. Or they're using a free version of ChatGPT, and it slaps them into the fast mode, and it gives them some crap answers. AI is incredibly useful, and whenever I meet somebody who doesn't get it, I always just think it's a bit of a skill issue, because if you know how to use AI, and especially for things like coding, building, creating businesses, etc., you can just go at absolute light speed. And anyone who hasn't kind of grokked that, they haven't worked that out, it's because they haven't experimented enough. Sorry. AI can only do pattern matching and next word predictions. So this is the argument that it is just an autocomplete. It kind of is, but then there is the question of, well, what's our human brain doing? It's a lot of pattern matching and predicting what's happening in the future. So we're able to fill in patterns, and that's where a lot of thinking comes from. So this actually brings up questions of, well, what's the human brain doing? Because we don't really know the mechanics of thinking and consciousness. So for us to criticize AI for not having what makes us human is a bit tricky, because we don't really know what that is. That's not saying that they are the same thing. It's just, again, if you are going to make an argument against one thing, you need to also levy that against the other. Human brain, human thinking. And then fake problems, economic bubble. This is him saying, I claim we can debate this. I think there is an economic bubble, personally. So these are the fake problems, according to Aaron. AI is fascist, water usage, yep. Energy use at the current margin, water and energy costs, AI isn't helpful, and AI can only do pattern matching. And then he goes on to talk about all of the real risks. And these are the things we need to focus on. We need to get away from things like water consumption, which is like a TikTok risk. It makes really good TikTok videos, but it is not a real issue here. We need to look at the big things here, and it's distracting looking at the things that are more memeable, or the things that are a better hook. So the real issues, according to Aaron: existential risk, that's a big one. It might wipe us out. Sub-existential catastrophe and general misalignment. Misuse, so being able to deploy a local model and use it for anything you want, to create weapons or to make deepfakes. Like there are a lot of terrible things you can do with AI. People getting lazier and less intellectually mature. Fair. You can use it in both ways. You can use it to improve yourself and to do more work and to build and grow, or you can use it to cheat. You can use it to be lazy. Job loss. Yep, this is huge. Job loss is going to be massive, and anyone saying it isn't, I think, are burying their head in the sand. There's lots of people kind of saying things like, oh, well, all technology has created other jobs, and so the jobs have just been replaced. This is different because AI acts as an operator. AI is not just a tool. It is an operator that can operate tools. So it's a more direct replacement than previous technologies. OpenAI specifically, yes, there are problems there. Sycophancy, engagement slop, the brightest minds not working on other things, gradual disempowerment, making factory farming more efficient. Don't know what that means. Bad value lock-in, so spending money on AI and not necessarily on other things. Risk of war because of geopolitical destabilization. The fact that the GPUs are made in Taiwan is a big problem, just from a geopolitical strategic level. The fact that the majority of the GPUs that are made and used by Western countries are built in Taiwan, which is very close to mainland China, and there's already I won't go into details, but there's already a situation there. That is a problem, a massive problem in terms of AI, especially as China and America are declaring AI to be of strategic importance. So that's problematic. AI sentience, mistreating AIs, etc., etc., etc. I'm going to post this whole thing in my newsletter, because we do need to be aware of the real risks. I'm not fully pro AI. I'm not fully anti AI. I'm somewhere in the middle, and I think that's where most intelligent people should be. And we do need to have the ability to push back against the fake problems, because you will see them on social media in particular. And if I do a video on this later, there'll be people in my comments being like, it uses a liter of water for every query. And it's like, no, it does not. This is a lie. It is made up. But there is so much misinformation out there that it acts as noise, and it stops us talking about the real issues with AI, of which, and I agree with Aaron here, there are a lot of real issues that we need to deal with, but we cannot do that unless we get rid of the junk in the way. I'm going to hop over to some questions. Oh, and clothes production. Yes. Oh, God. Textile production for water usage. Oh, wild. And then some people will be like, well, we need to wear clothes. It's like, yes, you do. We don't need fast fashion. You don't need to wear a new thing every week or every couple of days. So ASOS and Temu and all of those companies that are just pumping out fabric production, that we don't need. Yes, we need some good clothes. We need to wear something. We don't need what we are currently consuming. Yeah, no, what clothes production is absolutely mad. Almond production. I did not know about that one. I know about the, what is it? There's the alfalfa production there's a particular river in America. It's become a political like flashpoint. There's one particular alfalfa, I think it's alfalfa production in the Colorado River. I might be getting this wrong, but it uses water. Here we go. Major water consumer, accounting for a significant portion. It uses over a quarter of the Colorado River. I've seen the Colorado River. That's a big river. Famously, it cut the Colorado River is the Grand Canyon, right? So agriculture, mainly alfalfa, consumes 80% of the Colorado River's dwindling water supply. Yeah, so, and this is in the southwest of the US, which is a dry place anyway. So if you're going to get mad about the uses of ChatGPT and AI and data centers using water, you also need to get mad about alfalfa production on the Colorado River. But the problem is people direct their anger at the thing they've already decided they are against. There's a book called The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt, which is specifically about this, Haidt, where he talks about how humans, we like to think that we are coming to rational responses, and we're rational beings, but the reality of the situation is we tend to make most of our decisions emotionally. We make it fast, like Malcolm Gladwell talks about in Blink. It's that intuitive, extremely fast decision. Also, Daniel Kahneman talks about the two systems, type 1 and type 2. You've got your kind of thinking fast and you're thinking slow. Most of us make decisions instantaneously. We then slowly rationalize that decision. So we've already decided, I don't like that person, or I hate AI, or whatever it is. We make that like bam, instantaneously. We're not conscious of it. But then after the fact, we then rationalize it. So our slower rational brain kicks in and works out the good reasons for the reasons that support our emotional decision, our emotional argument, and then we continue to reinforce that by following people on social media, reading articles, watching TV shows, etc. that also reinforce what we already like to think. So this is what's happening in artificial intelligence. People have decided, I don't like AI, and then they will fit arguments in against artificial intelligence. People will also decide, oh, I love AI, AI is the best thing on earth, and they will do the same in the opposite direction. And anyone from either side, pro or anti-AI, will ignore any evidence to the contrary, and they will, supported by a bubble chamber, echo chamber of social media, go down a little rat hole and never be pulled out of there. Unfortunately, with AI, for the anti-people, it's just such an implacable force. It's just going to keep coming and keep coming. And if you shove your head in the ground with respect to things like job loss, you are going to be the people who are losing your job, which is why you kind of need to get ready for this. So on that, I've got something called the AI Readiness Challenge. It's a 5-day kind of basic introduction to artificial intelligence, totally free. I'm not selling anything here, but if you do feel that you should be engaging a bit more with the technology of AI and working out where you sit with regards to artificial intelligence, then you can find it over on aiwithkyle.com. Hopefully from the discussions in the last 20 minutes or so, you know that I'm not rabidly pro AI. I'm not rabidly anti-AI either. I think there are good and there are bad things. As with most things, it's grey. So yeah, if that's of use to you, head over to AI with Kyle, and then you can get this AI Readiness course. I'm trying to get 1 million people like ready for artificial intelligence, ready for what it's going to do to our jobs, what it's going to do to our communities, what it's going to do to our incomes, because it's going to be messy. So if I can get even a few of you ready and kind of in a good position, I'm going to be happy. So that's all free over on aiwithkyle.com. Go and grab that. Ben says almond production to feed the Saudi horses. I'm always amazed about the like the irrigation in Saudi of like golf courses and stuff. It's like it's a desert. You should not have golf courses. Grok says Sam Altman hasn't tweeted. What do you mean? His last tweet was the 23rd. Oh, do you mean the one about almonds? Yeah, it's on OpenAI then, I think. Or the ChatGPT account. Let's have a look. Where is it? Must be the ChatGPT account. Do you mean the one about pasta? There it is. So it's on the ChatGPT account. He's been asked, Sam, what are you making? And he says it's going to be garlic in the pasta somehow. So this is a garlic reference, if that's what you're talking about. The American Southwest Water is feeding the Saudi horses. I mean, I did not know that. So alfalfa and sending it for horses. Okay. Or for almond production. How long do you estimate until superintelligence? No idea. And anyone who says they do is making it up. Let's get to AGI first. I do think the argument that once we hit AGI, ASI comes shortly after is quite compelling, because once we have a recursively improving artificial intelligence and we allow it to do its own thing, then it will probably work out ASI very, very quickly. Again, it depends though, because we don't really have strong definitions of what this is, and lots of people argue about what the definition is. I think with AGI, we won't necessarily know we've hit it until afterwards. And then we'll look back and be like, oh, yeah, it was January 2026. That's when it happened. But at the time, I don't think we're going to be able to comprehend what has happened, and it's going to be a bit of a shock. Also, as humans, we're really, 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 really good at moving back the goalposts. So it used to be things like, computers are smart and everything, but they would never, ever be able to do something purely human like play chess. And then, 1990 or whenever it was, we had the defeat of Garry Kasparov by DeepMind, and then the critics pushed back a little bit and they said, oh, well, no, that's fine, but they'll never be able to play Go. And then flash forward, 2016, 2014, whenever it was, Lee Sedol being beat by AlphaGo, and then we had AlphaZero, and then it gets pushed back again, like, oh, okay, that's fine, but those are just games. It can't actually act in the real world. It will never drive a car. Waymo, Tesla, etc., etc. So we humans, what keeps happening is we keep defining what is purely human, and saying, oh, a computer can never do this, it can never create art, it can never generate emotion, it can never but we just keep moving that goalpost back every single time the computer does it. So I imagine we'll do exactly the same with AGI, and we're already doing it. Some people have said, oh, we've hit it, and others say, well, no, we haven't, because it's actually this. And that will continue. Just keep going. Awesome. So, do you think AGI is overhyped? No. No. It will not. If we get there, it's probably the most important technology humanity's ever come up with. It will make the internet and computing seem like toys. Well, the internet is basically training for AGI. So no, I don't think it's overhyped. There's overhype in the economic market. That's very different. So there's a lot of dumb money being spent on AI. Like any company that has AI in the name, or they say we do an AI enablement or whatever, investors throwing cash at it because it's the next big thing. In the same way that we did before the internet. But if we do get to the technology of AGI, that the technology itself is not going to be overhyped. It's going to be more than anything we could ever think of. And it's going to bring up really big questions about humanity and where we stand in the universe. Cool. I'm going to finish up. So again, I've got an AI readiness course, which is totally free. Everything's free on this website. There's a huge amount of stuff here. So if you head to aiwithkyle.com, there is my face. Weird photo. I don't have many photos of myself, that's why. And if you click on start the free challenge, then that's going to let you in, totally free, as well as the course or the 5-day challenge. There are also like 93 playbooks. Each of these is its own little mini course. They're all about 10,000 words, so they're pretty chunky. There's a prompt library, there's a bunch of tools, there's a glossary, video tutorials, tool recommendations. You get the news, so I have the update on the news on the website every single day. There's a catalogue full of courses. There are specific courses like this, the 10-week AI summer camp, which is helping you build a business using AI. There's a huge amount of material. Oh, and there's a community where we all discuss what's going on in the world of AI, and there's lots of people to support. So that's all available for free. Best way in is aiwithkyle.com, and then head to Start Free Challenge. That's going to get you in, and then you'll be given all of the other resources as well. There is a lot there, an awful lot there. So I'll also send you emails helping you work out what stuff you should be using. And I also have something called the Freedom OS, so the Freedom Operating System, which is about working out where you sit with artificial intelligence, how at risk your job is, what kind of skills should you be focusing on, and what kind of business or side hustle or consultancy you should be looking to set up in order to create another stream of income, so that whatever happens with AI over the next few years, you are in a good, solid, stable position. If you are interested in that, I think there's a button somewhere. No, there isn't. But join up to the free challenge, and then I'll talk to you about it in there as well. Awesome. So make sure you are signed up there, aiwithkyle.com, and over on YouTube, there are the edited summaries of these lives. So every day I get on and I talk about the AI news and updates of the day. Tomorrow I'll be talking about ChatGPT 5.2, I'm sure. But then we have edited versions, which live on the website over here, and stream shorts, etc., etc. So it's just a neater, tidier way to get access all the information. We've just crossed 10,000. We're about to hit 11,000 subscribers, so we're getting there. Awesome. Thank you guys, and I will see you tomorrow morning. Hopefully we'll be talking about ChatGPT 5.2. I'll see you tomorrow.